You pay for crimes that make our nation turn from God and shame. You've taken Satan's number. You've traded in your name. You've given government control to those who do you harm so they could burn down churches and seize the family farm and keep our country deep in debt. Put men of God in jail. Harass your fellow countrymen while corrupted courts prevail. Your public servants don't uphold the solemn oaths they've sworn. And your daughters visit doctors so their children won't be born. Your leaders send artillery and guns to foreign shores and send your sons to slaughter fighting other people's wars. Can you regain the freedoms for which we fought and died? Or don't you have the courage or the faith to stand with pride? And are there no more values for which you'll fight to save? Or do you wish your children to live in fear and be a slave? Oh, sons of the Republic, arise, take a stand, defend the Constitution, the supreme law of the land. Preserve our great republic and each God-given right. And pray to God to keep the torch of freedom burning bright. As I awoke, he'd vanished in the mist from whence he came. His words were true. We are not free, but we have ourselves to blame. For even now as tyrants trample each God-given right, we only watch and tremble, too afraid to stand and fight. If he stood by your bedside in a dream while you were asleep and wondered what remains of the freedoms he'd fought to keep, what would be your answer if he called out from the grave? Is this still the land of the free and home of the brave? God bless you, and God bless this republic.
And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the first hour of the afternoon intelligence report. I'm Mark Kornke. One day closer to victory for all of our brothers and sisters, both on and behind the lines in occupied territories, Southwest, East, Northeast, and Central. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to us on Libertytreeradio.4mg.com, Liberty Tree Radio on YouTube, live stream. In theory, we'll find out whether or not that's really true, because you never know. And we're working on another live stream / archive page right now, even as we speak. So Ed should have another direction to go with that pretty soon. Anyway, also AM and FM micro stations, AM and FM conventional stations, CB base stations, and Ultranet, Hallmark, and Golden Spike technologies east and west of the Mississippi, along with Alaska. Good afternoon to all of our friends out there in the lower 49, including the great state of Jefferson, along with CONUS, and, of course, the outlying two states, territories, and the clock, 5:11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here in the bottom of the state of Michigan. It is Monday. It is the 19th of October. It is the 12th year of open Fabian Socialist and Soviet Socialist occupation of America, with a K, 2020. Old Earth calendar, 2020, year of conflict, year of betrayal, dance of swords, battle for the Republic. We are headed to the conflict. And with that being the case, don't be surprised. You're going to see a lot of people blocked or bumped off of all the social media communist mechanisms or Sovietized mechanisms. It's the old, what it comes down to real quick on that, guys, all they're trying to do is the good old days of you shut up and were listened to and were told what to do by ABC, NBC, CBS, And then eventually they added CNN. And for communist Canada, it was always the CBC, and that was it. And then eventually there was CBC1, CBC2. I haven't even paid attention if they're still alive in one or the other. I mean, assume it's all one. But anyway, it's the same routine. What it comes down to is, how dare you? How dare you? How dare you talk to each other and be talking around the system and not believing whatever lies, like the coronavirus or whatever. But let me give you an example for everybody who thinks this is new. Let's go back, 3 decades. And in fact, about 35 years, 30 and 35 years. Talk radio in the 80s was just like your social media today. All of a sudden, everybody in regular radio, AM and FM, could do real calling. It became really big and popular. You could actually hear your voice on the big radio, okay? And guys, initially it was just mom and pop stations that were doing this. That's the history of this. It was not AM, it wasn't AM and FM big radio. It wasn't ABC, NBC, or CBS. They sure as hell didn't want you to hear squat, and if they did, they wanted it under their terms, obviously, and always moving you back towards either the A or B agenda, just like you're seeing with these fake-ass elections. George Herbert Walker Bush or Bill Clinton, okay, Trumpadette or, the Bidenite. Take your pick. It's always the same scam. They always try to push you back into that. Don't think about anybody else because they got to keep you on their ticket, their card, their two-faced coin, and only the agenda of the Soviet, nothing else. Trotsky, Lenin, Stalin, with Mao Zedong tucked in there now after a while. Anyway, everybody was doing it. Let me remind you how much the mainstream got hurt by this. They decided to do call-in on live radio. How many remember Howdy Doody on ABC, Nightline? Nightline literally did have, for a period of time, real live talk call-in radio TV. You didn't have a picture, you just had a phone. So you were like on the radio, and other people could hear your voice on ABC Live. Now, this only went on for so long before they tried to restrict it. First, they realized they thought they were going to get everybody to, come up, and they were going to be raving about the glorious communist this and the glorious communist that, and it was so wonderful for the commies to be in government and blah, 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 blah. It didn't work that way. In fact, everybody that was smart started to get real information out about the globalists, about what was going on with the undermining of the original Articles of Confederation, the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights, the original body of the Constitution. And it was fun because if you were smart, everybody tag team. We did the same thing with C-SPAN. C-SPAN really is still, they pretty well around the corner too, like the rest. They've realized they had to ultimately super edit so that the peasants don't hear any more, than possible. Now, if you're smart in any of these situations, you can tag team. And this is where we got really good at getting a complete message out. One person would get in, and everybody would have the same script. So as soon as I get bumped off, then you, Bob, Fred, Jim, Bill, Susan, Willie, whoever it is, you're up next, and guess what? You pick up. You don't start right from scratch and talk about whatever. You pick up where I left off. And when Bob get bumped off, Susan would come in, and she would have the next part of the message, and all of your message would get out there. Now, with Nightline, it was usually a subject. They have Howdy Doody up there, Ted Koppel. And he would flap his yap for a bit. They'd have a commie guest or whoever. They'd have somebody they'd try to ridicule, typically, again, a real conservative, not, one of the shills, but a real conservative, because they need to attack the real people who were pro-Constitution, pro-Bill of Rights, whatever. And then, of course, they expect everybody to parrot in with the regime and start ridiculing, whoever the guest was. Well, it didn't work that way. Unless the guest was really a communist, then we beat the snot out of them. And repeat, the proper information, but step by step by step. Now, mind you, you only have the later half of the program. Usually, they wouldn't open the lines up until 12 minutes after, right before the 15-minute break, and then or wait till after the 15-minute or the 14-minute break, depending on what year it was. And then from that point to the bottom of the hour, when they would be closing out, so to speak, you'd be able to get people in there and talking. Now, of course, you have to get as much in as you could, but you also wanted to be concise and precise. Don't go too fast, but try to get as much out there. And also, reference other ways to find stuff, okay, find information. So progressively they rolled the carpet back up on all of that. In fact, Lionsgate, the Brits in the early 90s, this is a fact, all mom and pop operations that were out there, there were some people that had 6, 10, 12, 14, 20 FM stations or had programming on 20, 30, 40, 50, kind of like coast to coast. Only this was like Indiana, Illinois, Wisconsin and Minnesota, or even right through to the West Coast, depending on how big the networks were that were smaller radio mom and pop operations. Lionsgate, the Brits, the same ones you see that run PBS, we're PBN. PBS, you always see them at the end of all these BS programs on public broadcasting, which isn't public broadcasting, it's foreign owned. Well, they went out and they spent hundreds of millions of dollars blacking out stations. They went out and bought stations where the people who were probably, who were maybe doing the programming weren't the people necessarily that owned the station. See, a lot of people don't realize you can have what's called an operator's agreement, where somebody else has the license for the radio station, and you're paying them, which it's usually easier to stay up on the air that way because you don't have to wait for licensing to be approved. The guy gets money, guy or gal, they get money for owning the station. You pay them, and as long as you pay them every year under contract, you're set to go. Or it could be 2 or 3 or 5 year contracts. Well, what they did is they came in and they undercut everybody. They bought out, no matter what it cost, every small radio station they could across the country to silence talk radio for the New World Order agenda. We mapped this out step by step, but the cool thing about that is that it created a lot of really pissed off Americans, so we hit the timing on that just right. Like right now with all the stuff going on with socialist media. The socialist media, which used to be social media or public media, is now, telling you that, you can't be there to do your own thing and think your own thoughts. We're right back to the ABC, NBC, CBS communist/Jewish mob minority run. You can't talk about anything other than the agenda that the commies are pushing. And communists being globalists, New World Order types, neocons, real open communists, not so open communists. Take your pick. There's a whole pile of them. They're all fellow travelers playing the fake left-right scam all the time, okay? But back then, it was Lionsgate, and they weren't the only ones, but it was 3 British purchasing companies that went across the country and silenced talk radio, they thought. What did this do? The perfect wave of micro FM broadcasters took place right there, right then, and we pushed it, guys. And because of that, we literally, not a few hundred or hundreds of radio stations that they had to contend with. Now all of a sudden there were thousands of micro FM broadcasters, and all of them covering the subjects that they didn't want the peasants to hear. Now, by the way, we still have shortwave, and we have other tools, and in fact, we created, and I'm not exaggerating, this isn't like Al Gore, I created the internet. Literally, guys, the Patriot movement, and in fact, it was Eagle Radio Network and Republic Radio International, RRI, that created Patriot or talk radio as you know it today that everybody now takes for granted. Nobody knew how to do audio on computer. In the early 90s, we not only accomplished that, but we cranked it out and pressed it. One of the things that we resuscitated was web TV. Everybody goes, what? Well, actually, I just got one the other day. I've got a web TV machine I just got here from, it was a GE model. And what's interesting is web television, when it first came out, was a way for your TV to be used for computers. Well, now everybody goes, oh, we do that all the time now. Yeah, well, the web TV is what it was called originally. And it was Web 1, actually. And it was on the fritz. It was on the way out. But here was the thing. At all like the Big Lot stores, way back then with Big Lot, and all these resale stores that were electronic companies, they had first-generation web, and they were selling it for $14.95, $19.95 for a complete system. You plug it into the TV, and you could play, you could work the internet on your television, on your regular tube TV or your flat screens, which were at that time just now coming out. Here's what we were able to do. we were able to show people that rather than going out and buying a $2,000 or $3,000 desk unit computer, which, by the way, they were pricey back then, you could get stuff, you could put pieces together. I know we did for a lot less, $1,200, $1,300 to get you a nice machine. And for what we were talking about, cheaper would be better because all you needed was a link so you could do audio. You could feed. You get an audio card, a nice one. Doesn't make any difference really what quality it was because all you want to do is hear people talk. And the neat thing is that you could hook up. Well, here's the thing. Web television was already set up like that. Everything was set up ready to go. But rather than buying a $1,500 or a $900 or a $3,000 computer, you went over to Big Lot and bought a $15 web TV system, plugged it in, and you could listen to the intelligence report and all of Republic Radio International and Eagle Radio Network live nonstop. This is all stuff you take for granted right now. Well, we built all of that, guys. But here's what's cute. Because we actually gave people a mission to go out and get web TV systems, web TV didn't go out of business. They actually, even at that point, when we did that, we told everybody, here's what's going to happen. Anyway, with web TV, they actually had a date when they were going to shut down. So everybody was like, well, what are we buying this for? Well, for the year that you're going to be able to use it, or maybe a little less. At that time, I think it was about 11 months. You're going to be able to use it and listen to us without any, UHF, VHF, or shortwave squeal, or trying to tune stuff in. You're going to listen to us right over your television. And a lot of people were like, well, yeah, that's a pretty cheap price, $20 or less, and I could listen to all of the network 24 hours a day. And so what happened is we literally, because of the millions of people that were listening, we literally resuscitated Web TV, and Web TV 2, the next generation of technology, was actually put out there, which was not scheduled to take place. They were actually ready to dump the whole program. We built that back up. But here's what happened. It still wasn't that expensive. So if you had the Web 1 system, which wasn't as sophisticated, kind of like the difference between a 386 computer and a Pentium, okay, a 386 processor and a Pentium, the thing is that the upgrade with number 2, with Web 2, was cool, but wasn't essential. However, it was still not expensive. $29.95 would get you a Web 2 system. So guess what? We actually then wanted to explain to everybody, well, when all the Web 1s are gone, which eventually we bought them all up, we did, all of us, all you patriots out there, then Web 2 came up, and we bought them out. And it got to the point where we literally were able to finance Web TV moving into a third generation of technology, and they sold out Web 2. We bought it out. Before anybody got a chance, most everybody in the Patriot movement. So we had a separate independent grid that was financed by somebody else. They paid for all the technology, and everybody could listen in just like you're listening on a computer right now or your cell phone right now. But we did this 30 years ago. Oh, yeah, when nobody knew what it was and nobody knew how to do it. We showed everybody how, and literally pressed the market and pressed the system. So anyway, that's back then, and it worked. But also what happened is then progressively, like I said, they were attacking and trying to neutralize different components. Needless to say, the Internet, in all of its wonderful little nuances, developed as we've seen. We paid, all of you and us, we all paid so that the government could come up with better spyware, better spy technology through the shill corporations and all the other BS, and the rest is also history there, as we know too, don't we? Now, they're trying to shut everything off that they can. They're trying to block you off because you actually can communicate and realize you're not alone, you're not a minority, you are the majority. They realize that. They're scared to death that you're not going to be terrified of them when they try to plug in the red terror, and we're not. In fact, everybody's feeling the same thing right now. We already know we're going to war. Everybody, you could touch it, taste it, smell it, feel it. If Trump gets in there, the loons are not going to be happy with that, and of course it'll be BS anyway. The level of voter fraud is so tremendous, on top of the manipulation of the machines at the discretion of the other clique, the ones that are really running the scam, that I have no confidence. There should be no confidence in the election whatsoever, not at all. It's cute, it's going to be fascinating how the thing plays, but only in that we need to be ready so we don't get caught flat-footed, because if Trump gets in there, Trump hits bat faggots and FBI that he claims he doesn't know what they do anymore, but they're just doing their own thing. For 4 years he's been in charge. That's a lie. He knows exactly what's going on. His kosher mafia buddies that are riding with the right-wing scam, the players that are the fakes, that are in reality all for the kosher mafia, will be going after guns and gun owners anyway. They already did the first tap on that with this thing with the AR-15 pistols. Well, they dropped that. No, they didn't. They just said they pushed it out for a couple of months, in theory, but not even that, really. Let's be honest, okay? They're still in motion on it right now. They've got it set up. It's in the deck. They've already played the card out to show you where they're going. So it's not an if, it's just a when the freight train is going to collide on the bridge with the other freight train and go over. The Addams Family thing. So we're in a situation where organize, arm, equip, and train as militia for mutual defense. Set up a 5-10 program in your area of operation. Establish communications grids now, but also have backup communications on standby in many, many other areas of activity with regard to the technology. And needless to say, medical support and transportation are a priority. Need to keep working day by day to get something done. A little bit, a big amount, a large amount, somewhere in between. Every day do something. Just be nipping away at it, nipping away at it, nipping away at it. Why? It's inevitable the shipwreck's going to happen. The leftists, the fake leftists, the other leftists, as opposed to the leftists that are presently in power, are going to be, doing the getting everybody to kill everybody thing, which, you know what, you can't stay out of it, because if they come down the road to play red terror, and the feds will participate. The FBI will be part of that. The ATF will be part of that. Federal marshals will join in to murder Americans, confiscate guns. They won't even think about it. They're ring-knocking, spit-swapping power loons. Okay? They are ring-knocking, spit-swapping power loons. They have no problem following the orders of the communists that are coming up, just like they've been running with the other communists that are already there. And now, let me point something out. For somebody who goes, oh, no, Mark, that's great. Really? Okay, wait a minute. Back up here. What's going on with Trump's FBI and Trump's ATF? Does Trump run the ATF and FBI or not? Well, they've been lying for the last... Okay, so if they've been lying for the last 4 years, which we know, the FBI, for instance, now with the bat faggots, they're just doing what the bat faggots always do, bottom feeders. But they're being run by somebody. And the guy who holds the pen for financing and operations is Donald Trump. So Donald Trump's lying to you. This is Donald Trump's FBI. This is Donald Trump's ATF. If you really wanted to, if all the pickle, smoke, and mirrors were, this garbage we're seeing was supposedly real, then the bottom line is all he has to do is just walk over with a pen and delete a quarter budget or whatever else he wants to, and they're done. But he didn't do that, did he? FBI wasn't put out of business. FBI's, in fact, he could put a nice tight leash on them and keep them pulled in, but he isn't making any effort to do that. So it's all pickle, smoke, and mirrors. It's all BS. It's a lie. So one way or another, they're going to try to figure out how to make an excuse for coming after the guns. One of the things as we get into conflict here, if you think that, oh, look, the feds are coming down the road, the feds, I can stand here with my rifle, and they like me, they don't like the communists, they're going to grab you, beat the living snout out of you, and steal everything you own. They're working for themselves, they're not working for you. If you think you got a friend coming down the road, you're going to have an epiphany you're not going to like. So instead, understand they are all working for themselves, and they're all working for the globalists. They figure they're riding with the power. So again, America, you're right back to where we were, 1775. You're on your own. If you want to fix this, you're going to have to clean the house out. That means getting rid of all these bastards. And for those who haven't figured that out yet, and there's still people, I had somebody here a little bit ago, Trump's going to get them after the election. Well, we had plenty of time to get them before the election. And again, Hillary the Hutt hasn't been arrested yet. Now, of course, in the meantime, for those of you who don't know what's going on here in Michigan, the crazy as a loon, Greta Bruce Jenner, the governor of, from Canadian land, said today that she wants Trump to be, done away with. That he was horrible because he didn't denounce when people were chanting, lock her up, or whatever it was. I don't really care. Bottom line is that, she's frothing at the mouth crazy the day is long, okay, a loon, and expecting anybody, change their attitude. Like I told you guys, like those guys on the other side of the state, the militia was good. Nobody was going to kidnap anybody. Nobody has any interest in kidnapping anybody. Does everybody understand that? First of all, we don't want to feed our enemies. I'm serious. We're not going to feed them. I'm going to give you a little hint there. We're not going to feed them. So we're not going to be carrying anybody away. Okay? That's just a heads up for everybody. Now, with that being the case, I would remind everybody that we got a lot of work to do here. And first rule is remind everybody the FBI is lying. See, that's the problem I have with the schizophrenia about what's going on with Trump's FBI. So, we all know that they're lying. There's more stuff coming out. The control press is having to do damage control. And because they got caught with their, they were too busy parroting the keyword, your enemy's agenda, and too busy licking rumpus to make that big brown bunghole, I guess, cherry, pink or whatever. I don't know. But they're now kind of going into, because the right people are starting to step up to help with the legal defense, which is going to be quite massive, by the way. The next wave is coming in now. And with the conversations everybody's had, we all know how we're going to be dealing with the problem that was created by the FBI. Now, another thing, I cannot emphasize enough, if they're still going to try to escalate this. We are on the 19th of October, okay? We're headed towards the shipwreck now. The shipwreck date is fixed. It is not going to change. It is going to get worse. It is going to be bad. One way or another, first of all, if the Democrats, if with all the voter fraud, if the Democrats are, told that they're going to be going in, we're at war. It's done. They're finished. They've already told you. I'm fascinated how they're trying to tell you that, they didn't say they were going to kill Americans for their guns. Yes, they did. They didn't say they were coming after the guns. Multiple times. But it's amazing how they seem to, I think they believe that the Prozac is so, shall we say, embedded in the loons out there, that the rest of us are going to be as brain dead as those desperately trying to find any excuse to not have to deal with reality, which is why they're on Prozac in the first place. We're all people looking straight at the problem. And the biggest thing now that I've had is what can we do right now? What can we do because of what's coming, and what are we going to have to do, not just the short term, but now the long term, which I'm going to address here in a minute. In the short term, again, I've repeated it so many times, but I will repeat it again for a good reason. We own the network, but also it needs to be reinforced. Organize, arm, equip, and train as militia. Establish a 510 program in your area of operation. Communications units, transportation units, and medical units need to be established now. There is so much you can do in that area that will, again, what are they going to say? You guys are preparing for fill in the blank. Yeah, we are. We're preparing for. There's nothing illegal about having communications or transport units ready and organized, but everything will be illegal in the long run no matter what anyway, so who cares? It doesn't make any difference. At that point, once if they go frothing at the mouth crazy, you're going to be shooting them anyway. Somebody will be shooting them, and after that, sky's the limit, and all bets are off, and it's finished. There's nothing you're going to do to slow it down. In fact, you better figure out, how you're going to put a bullet in them, and faster, because it's not going to end by Christmas. We won't be home by Christmas, but everybody that has their epiphany sooner and realizes we need to fight for our freedom and fight for our safety and fight for our families and fight for our nation. We're fighting for our nation. We're not fighting for the racket, the scam in Washington, D.C. Those turds are all sold out so far around the corner they can't see the last two corners they ran around to betray us. Those fools are so isolated from reality they don't have a clue, and I don't care what direction they go or if even they correct their path. They can't really correct their path, but they'll try to figure out how to lie to us. That's really the only thing they've got left is they're going to betray us and are betraying us, and they're going to try to figure out how to lie to us about how they're fixing things. Well, it's fixed all right. They're planning on mass murder against all of us. They're planning on killing you. They're planning on destroying your family. They're planning on murdering the nation. So we need to be ready for that. We need to deal with that problem. And that means you're going to be at war for a good 6 to 8 years, maybe eight at the max, but 6 minimum. It's not going to be short. It's going to be a mess. You're going to have a lot of broken stuff. It's too bad. So sad. But it's that, or, again, they plan on killing you. They've already said they want to kill you. They want to destroy and kill your family. They want to murder America. The FBI will join right in with that. ATF will join right in with that. Federal marshals will join right in with that. They already are. They're frothing at the mouth, ape crazy about the idea they're going to be doing this. They've already been puffing each other up. They're rubbing each other's private body parts, and they're fingering each other's little, hiding holes. Oh yeah, they're all really aroused by this. So everybody better be squared away and prepared. The other thing here again, for the amount of time that's left, it's not too late, never too late, but it just means that you're behind the curve, so to speak, with regard to getting certain things done. And I will remind you again that better to have something in hand in every category than not prepared to deal with the problem and not have any tools to work with. So whatever weapons you can accumulate, more important is the ammunition to go along with the weapons. The ammunition kind of dictates what you probably should be looking at right now, purchasing right now. I want you to think about that one. But it's there again, therein lies the rub. What is available? Well, there's lots of 30-06 and 270 all over the place. That's one thing everybody's acknowledged. And I've said before, it's kind of funny. 270 is a phenomenal round, and a lot of you have it. Some people tell me, well, all I got is my 270 hunting rifle and a couple of ARs. And it's like, what do you mean only? That 270 is a monster cartridge. I'm amazed it survived so long. Most people don't even think about that. How long has 270 been around? It's like .6. It's been around and been in cycles, but it's out there. There's a lot of it. The 270, if you have it, you probably can hit a quadruped on a 45-degree angle running through Michigan woods at 125 yards, and you shoulder shoot them every time. Well, if you can do that, or whatever you're doing with that rifle in Bambi season, bipeds are not as fast. Trust me, that 270 is a singing rifle. That is a weapon to take to war. So if you have a 270, the biggest thing is just buy the hell out of all the ammo you can get that hits the way you want it to hit. And then when you run out of that, being able to buy that, buy the next one up or down that you think is closest to what you need, and you'll figure it out when you switch over from one weight bullet to the other after you've used so many up. You're better for us as a placement sniper / a marksman than spraying and praying with an AR-15. All of you guys out there with these heavy bolt guns, you should be thinking those first, because number one, you're probably a little older anyway. I've heard this over and over again. Well, I'm not as young as I used to be. Well, then good. Shoot them farther out. Hits count, misses don't. You need to put a bullet on them. Blow their leg off. Blow their groin out. That's him. Notice I keep mentioning aim low, aim low. Aim low, go slow. Way out there. Ooh, there you go. You think he's going to run after you when a good portion of his leg's taken out with the 270? I doubt it. I really don't think he's going to be motivated anymore for any kind of... He's not going to be part of the infantry assault. Let's put it that way. So for everybody out there, a lot of what you got, beef up what you got. Well, I can't find any AR-15 ammo. Well, buy what you can when you can, but can you find 270 or 30-06? Or you have a 30-06 or a 243 or whatever you got? Keep buying the ammo off the shelf that matches what you presently use and are totally familiar with. Now, if you want to get some heavier bullets for greater range, I would recommend that, but you also want to just have enough. Make sure you got a little bit extra so you can do a print and see where you're hitting out there at range, unless you've already used that projectile. And I would recommend this also. If you do have other bullets you've used and you're familiar with, I would prefer that, I would recommend, not prefer, I'll recommend, I can't stop you from doing anything. You do whatever you darn well want. This is America anyway. Guns are for buying, not for selling. But if you've got a bullet you've already used, that's what you need to go to for the time being. Why? You've already mapped it out. You may already have all the specs for it. You may even have a scope that's set up for that round that's going to give you more collection and greater range for that heavier bullet for greater range that you want to use. Well, guess what? If in fact, one thing you could do, start looking for a sister rifle to the one you've already got set up and put it together so that one gun uses one, bullet for point of impact. The other one has a little bit of a different system because, a little different setup in terms of point of impact because you're using a totally different base projectile and different load. So, guys, again, this is a good excuse to go buy another gun. Okay?
Hey, Mark.
Go buy another gun. Go ahead, caller. Jump in there, please.
Hey, this is Carl in Virginia. Just want to say, ordered some of those Italian armor plates, and I'm very happy with them. The price is right. They're lightweight, and it's about a quarter-inch almost of Kevlar on, like, as if there's like two panels, and there's I think there's like just a hollow space in between, which is good because you have the bullet kind of doing weird things in between and getting caught up. And if it doesn't get caught in the first one, it'll get caught in the second one. They are rated more for pistol than they are for rifle. It says on there that it'll stop a 380, a 357 Magnum, or a 12 gauge buckshot. So it's not made to stop a rifle round, but it will stop lower velocity cartridges.
Wait a minute, hold it. Before we're going farther, it has the specs on the panel?
Yeah, it's written in Italian, but you can see on there where it's talking about the caliber and associating with a certain amount of meters per second and all that.
Very good.
So at per certain distance. So and of course you can always throw something in Google Translate and get the full exact whatever it says. But yeah, it does specify on the inside of it. There's a tag on it. It's like a navy blue, the color that the police are supposed to be using.
Typical cop colors. Yep. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So if for some reason you needed to put it on the outside and have something rigged up to just have it all holding it together, it'll look like a cop setup, which is cool. But these will fit inside an extra large size British flak vest. So if you buy one of those, they're $85. They're on sale now, $85.50, and so they're cheaper now than when I bought one. So congratulations, you get a deal. All right, so you get that. You pull the red padding out of it, and this right here will slide right up in there.
Excellent, and that's what we want, guys. Go ahead.
So go and that'll give you quite a bit of protection because it wraps around. The soft Kevlar will wrap around all the way. The hard Kevlar will wrap around most of the way, leave a small gap in there, but you'd still at least have that soft Kevlar that comes with the vest.
Well,
also,
go ahead.
Also, they have the do-it-yourself kit with the Kevlar helmet for $36. Again, it's cheaper than when I bought it. And when I bought it, I thought it was a good deal, so now it's an even better deal. So you can be kitted out with a really good amount of Kevlar on your head and your body for less than $200.
Well, let's not forget. Remember, like you said, the rating on the panel is by itself. Now you've got so much soft Kevlar in front that that's going to be working whatever's coming through first, and then the fluff armor, as we call it, because you know what happens when that stuff get hit? It looks like a dead possum. Anybody ever see hard Kevlar? I was like, what in the hell? I actually had one that was shot up years ago, and I'd leave it by the front door by the door when we had a meeting. But it was funny. It looked like an animal had been hit, right? Because it was a good solid scud right along the right side of the temple, and it went right along. It didn't penetrate the helmet in. What it did is it scudded along and went along the body of the helmet, and it popped all that open, guys, and it did what it was supposed to do. It's not going to, nothing you're going to wear. If you're wearing armor, understand, it really is, it's going to be compromised, right? Live with that. In fact, wait a minute, that's right. You can live with it because the armor did its job. So think about this. With the paneling that we're talking about, your quality of protection is much higher than you might expect, and I might think. And with that British armor, or with any of the other example, I'm thinking that this is going to work with both of the Polish vests that were available. We were telling everybody to buy that were about $65. It'll also work with the British OD green armor that was available before the DPM camo, which, by the way, the DPM camo is slightly newer and so is actually a little better protection. But either one, if you took that hard panel and slid it in, you've upgraded your armor that much more. And frontal armor, if that's all you can afford, hey, run with it. It used to be Second Chance didn't. In fact, when Second Chance first came out, I got to remind everybody, they only had front panels, Carl. They didn't have a back panel for your vest. Did you know that? The logic was you were supposed to face your enemy, and if you knew that the armor was only in the front, you'd be motivated to face your enemy, and therefore, since you had to face your enemy, and he was probably shooting at you, you probably would be motivated to pull your gun and maybe shoot back. So originally, guys, Kevlar was so expensive, vests were so expensive or considered so prohibitive cost-wise, that frontal defense armor was the only thing they originally made. Then they made back panels. Then they came up with chicken plates, for the front, because, for the front armor. And when they came up with rifle armor, we went through the whole cycle again. Originally, rifle armor was only in the front, not in the back. You had soft panels in the back. You had shock armor in the front, and, the rifle stuff, the level 4 armor. And then they advanced beyond that as it became more affordable. People invested more, and they also tried to market better. So we're just reinventing the wheel here, but we're doing it with off-the-shelf parts. You can buy the British vest for $85 right now at sportsmansguide.com, www.sportsmansguide.com, www.sportsmansguide.com. The DPM camel vest is and they have extra larges in stock. I looked. They have extra large. That's what the other panel will fit. And when you go to, hold on here, let me bring it up. I didn't even do that. I haven't done that today. Let's go over to sportsmansguide.com, www.sportsmansguide.com. And I know that they've got everything we're talking about. So everything, Carl, you brought up is on the menu right now.
And go ahead and buy. Obviously, you want an even number of those panels. Okay, and because you want front and back, because your enemy is not going to be chivalrous and wait for you to face them.
They're never nice, right? Nobody ever plays fair, do they? Right?
No, then they shouldn't.
They shouldn't. That's how it is.
But also buy more than what you think you need, because your friends are going to say, "Hey, cool, where'd you get that?
Why didn't you get one for me?" Oh, as a matter of fact, I did.
These are only $27 a piece. It's like, I mean, you paid more than that for a pair of blue jeans, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but again, remember, this is a way to armor other stuff up. You never know what you might want to put something in, right?
And what's your life worth?
Yeah, $27.43. That's what my life. Oh, wait a minute, it's worth more than that. So I'll bet you I'll spend more. Well, the thing is, again, for everybody, this is over at Sportsman's Guide. British military surplus DPM ballistic flak vest with plates, extra large, $85.49. That's the membership cost. Okay. In addition to that, the Italian military surplus carabinieri vest plate with Kevlar, which is what it is. It is $26.99 / read that $27. I'll throw the penny in there. That's for the That's membership, and it's $30 if you're a non-member. So either way, if you weren't a member, it's still a good price for what that is. Okay. And again, here's the other trick. Now, with the Polish or with the British, I mentioned this several times. Guys, you could cut, and what I would do is you could cut a piece of steel. You round the corners. Always remember that. Don't leave them square. Round the corners and cut a panel for each of the pockets that are on these vests. Now, once you do that, you can do the poor man's version of rubber coat. Go get a can of box shield. It's the spray-on armor for your the box of a truck, and paint the panel with that, all sides. Let it sit, let it dry, let it cure. Now, you know what's really cool? Even that stuff has some ballistic potential, strangely enough. And so then you slide that into the pocket, and if you want to, you can even throw a rubber coat on the edge. There's all kinds of neat tricks. They've got that rubber tool coating. Put that right on the edge, all the way around the outside, so you have a little more rubber baby buggy bumper, so it doesn't cut your pockets in any way. And congratulations, you've just added how much more protection to your vest. And you can get titanium. If you got somebody who does titanium, they'll cut a panel whatever size you want. You can even go to a steel shop, and they'll cut a panel. Now, I'm not talking 1/4 inch. I'm talking 16th inch steel, or you can go 1/8 if you want. You can go 1/4 if you feel like it. But personally, what you want is the thickness of a chicken plate. just a trauma plate. You're just trying to add more laminate armor. You got a panel of steel, you got a layer of Kevlar, of soft Kevlar. Then you got the shock Kevlar underneath. I'll be willing to bet a good portion of anything that might hit that's not going through. Now, granted, if it's a half-inch round, you're probably going to be screwed. But if it's a half-inch round, you're not going to carry enough to stop that, no matter how hard you try. But anything less than that, think about this. A lot of stuff is going to be soft point ammunition out there in rifle. Even when you're, the cop shops or the military, a lot of them are using a Match King, it's a micro hollow point. So when that hits the shock plate, that's going to expand that. The soft armor is going to take care of a lot of the energy, and what's left over is going to be stopped by the heavy plate you've got to the very rear. Now, you can even go one step farther. I know this sounds paranoid, but it's not. You got all kinds of undercover armor that you can buy for nothing. I mean, level 2, level 3. They're not that heavy. A lot of those vests, or a stab vest, is very light. Any layer that you can do to armadillo your core is going to help. It's that simple. So the thing is, it's a matter of how much do you think you really need to carry in way of armor weight, in proportion to combat weight, because you still got to add all the other goodies you got to carry, pew back. So there's where the balance is always. How much weight can you carry? Steel plates are great protection for the areas they cover. Problem, it's the other areas they don't cover.
Hey, Mark.
You see? Go ahead, caller.
I just want to say one more thing on it. I mean, these things are so cheap, $27 a piece. If you're going to put together a little body armor rig to just keep in your vehicle, I mean, let's say you got one that's way better than this, but this one here, it's not $450. Instead, it's, less than $200 altogether. Or if you just buy the two plates and have a different vest, like I had some old French surplus vests I think I got for $17 a piece.
Yeah.
I mean, these fit right in there, and you know what? If I keep it in my vehicle, and if my vehicle crashes and catches on fire, or the police confiscate it, or somebody breaks in my vehicle, steals my car, or whatever, I'm not going to be boo-hooing because I just lost my best body armor and $450 value.
Exactly. Well, and again, what you do, here's the thing about it. When you carry it in the car, here's a little trick. If you're going to put it in the trunk, stand it up. Make a hook point where the seats are, and stand it upright. Remember, all of this armor is going to work to armor the vehicle. There's all kinds of neat things you can do where it's like it's on board. In fact, if you got your cargo bag with all your junk in it, you stand up the armor to the farthest point back into the car against the seat. Then you put your junk in front of that to hold it up, just to keep it sitting up there. You don't even have to have a hook or a clip. And as long as you've got that upright, if there's any stray thing that comes through the back end of that car, at least you've got some areas that might snag, tag, and slow down a good portion of whatever that is. So it's always going to help you. Remember, always think about making the tool that you have work the way it's supposed to, no matter what attitude it's in, whatever you're doing with it. So, again, poor man's vehicle armor, real quick. Another thing is, somebody's saying, well, you could almost use that like for a forward shield or something too. Yeah, you probably could. For that matter, you could double them up and do two of them like that if you were going to think about maybe a forward shock shield. But personally, it's better for the very core protection, because that's something everybody's worried about. Everybody's, why are you wearing a plate? Because you're worried about core defense. Well, I'll go one step farther and remind you that, we need core protection. But guys, it's just the fickle finger of fate, getting snagged and tagged on a weird angle. Having more of the wraparound armor means it's less likely something's going to get through. It might still bruise the living snot out of you. Might just only barely get through and still stipple you like a steel punch, but not perforate and penetrate. Now, this is another reason that remember why were trauma plates made? Why do they call it a trauma plate? Carl, you remember? Why do they call it a trauma plate? Guys, what's the one area we don't want to see thumped with a punch from say a professional boxer? Your heart. Remember, the shock trauma plates originally on all the soft armor were because if you took a hit to core central, if you look at where the trauma plate is, ladies or men, doesn't make any difference. It was over the heart, because your armor can stop 100% of what's there, and guess what? The shock trauma of the billiard effect, remember? Equal and opposite? Yeah, that's that physics thing. What would happen is you end up, well, if you ever seen what happens when you do get shot with soft armor? There's all these images on going around showing like people getting hit with the paintball rounds or the rubber bullets. Guys, have you seen where they're not wearing anything, what they look like? You can see right where the bullet hit, and then you have a pronounced outer ring about 2, 3, or 4 inches away from the epicenter where you have a bruising circle. Now, let me give you a little hint about what all those are going to look like about a day later. See all that bruised sphere, that circle, that area inside? It's going to look just as bad or worse than the original strike did, because all of that is bruised. All of that's coming forward, but it's deeper, and it's going to take time for it to come out. Now, consider that if you got hit with something, your threat level 3 armor or 2 armor might do a very fine job of stopping it, but the blunt trauma / force going through the rib cage and through the sternum will strike the heart muscle and cause significant, if not final, traumatic damage to the heart muscle. It gets bruised just like anything else. So when somebody just asked me, well, Mark, why are you talking about putting all these steel panels in all those pockets? Basically, guys, all you're doing is adding shock trauma plates wherever you can afford to put them. Now, since they're not that heavy, and this is why, again, you could use a thinner grade of steel. That's not a problem. Or you can go to titanium. And I do not know why, other than maybe cost. I don't know why there's no discussion about titanium plates anymore. I think it's because what it does, better protection, and it's lighter weight, which means anybody can have it, and, well, everybody's better protected. I don't know if it's still being purchased. There is no problem with using titanium. Guys, titanium will be around. If you were buried with steel, aluminum, Kevlar, and titanium plates, and they dug your carcass up 400 years from now, well, maybe some of the steel would still be there as rust, but that titanium plate would look just like when it was slid into your vest 400 years earlier. That's the scary part.
And the thing about these plates is spread out the impact.
Yes, exactly. So that's why they're called trauma plates. We call them chicken plate. Yeah, we got a chicken plate. Well, yeah, but the idea is you're playing chicken, because when you're moving forward, there's a couple other derogatory reasons they're calling it a chicken plate. But the idea behind it is that everybody's trained to hit center mass. Now, this is why I've told you aim for the crotch. I know I'm mean. Just like Carl said earlier, there's no fair game in this thing. Aim for the groin, because if I go low, I blow a leg out. I take an artery out. I blow a nail. If I'm even going too low, I might just blow his kneecap off, and he's not running any farther anyway. But if I hit him in the groin, I'm blowing out the gonads, taking a chunk of the hip out, blowing out the arteries, veins. You're not going much farther, and you probably aren't going to make it. Especially if you look at what your 270 did to Bambi last year. Just picture that, take it down rather than the chest, which you might not get through because of all the stuff we're talking about, and aim for the groin where there isn't hardly anything there that's in the way. But even if it is, understand that your bullet follows the path of least resistance like water. And in order for you to be able to move, the articulation points have to be down there where the crotch is, just like around the armpit. So the armpit or the groin is actually a better placement shot usually than trying to go center of mass. Center of mass, you're just going to be trying to beat your way through to something. But if you're really a good shot, or you really have confidence in your weapon and you're a good shot, which is really a good combination, isn't it? Well, when you do that, you aim for the armpit or you aim for the groin, then chances are you're going to be taking and going plowing through that and get to where you want to go. Now, you could try for a beaner shot, but I'm going to point something out. Armpit, torso, groin is a core element that doesn't get a chance to flex or move that much. Everything else can wing around. The head is quite articulated, and actually because of that is not as easy a target as you would think the farther out you go away from the center of point, for contact. In other words, what is the size of the object, in your lens? Again, personal flavor choice. If you think you can keep it on that chin, that's cool. But if you generally, like I said, you aim for the groin, if you ride up because you're a little twitchy, you still hit the abdomen, or you still hit the trauma plate area, but you hit the core. If you go a little low, you're going to take out the thigh, you're going to take out the leg, snap a bone, hit maybe the knee, who knows? If there's a bunch of them lined up, and like I told you, like with the Antifa riot thing or with the zombie attack, if you drop low and horizontal and you aim groin area, you're going to be like going through a small forest of saplings. Your bullet's not just going to hit one target. You're going to hit a whole bunch of people, and that's a good thing. And they're going to be screaming, they're going to be hurt, they're going to be thrashing, they're going to be wounded, they're not going to like being hurt. They're going to motivate to really mess up the other side's rank and file, because that pain and injury commutes through the rabble that are in front of you that are frothing at the mouth crazy town. And yeah, while certainly the orcs behind are going to push some of the orcs forward, you now have people who don't want to be the next line falling down, and so that creates let's just say, an internal break. The ones to the rear, they'll keep pushing the orcs forward, but the orcs up front, some of them are trying to turn around and go the other way. They're doing your job for you. Some of them aren't going anywhere at all. They're screaming and thrashing, and some of them are dead. But the orcs are in trouble, okay? Anyway, we're at the top. We're going to be in trouble if we don't take a break here. For everybody out there, guys, it is Monday on Liberty Tree Radio, and it is the second hour of the Intel Report coming up. God bless our republic.
Death to the New World Order.
We shall prevail, ladies and gentlemen. The empire's on the run.
And we are on the march, both day and night.
Hoorah. Kick them slats. Beat them down hard. Don't let them get back up. And again, you're a little more of an armadillo if you can put all these good things together and make them work right. It's not that hard. Just got to use a little brain gray matter. We can do that. We'll be back right here. Second hour coming up. It is Monday on LTR.
Shine on the old Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. March along with the Piper boys, we were born forever free. Nice will pay the Piper boys beneath the Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. Pay the price they're asking, boys. Always pay the tyrant's fee. Never give up the struggle, boys. Fight for the Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. Stand for the rights of man, boys. Stand against all tyranny. Hang the lance of freedom, boys. High on the Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. It will grow as we grow, boys.
We all need to prepare ourselves. You might have the food, water, gold, and silver, but ask yourself, are you truly prepared? That's why you need to visit MaineMilitary.com. MaineMilitary.com carries everything you need. Gas masks, fire starter kits, high-capacity magazines, chemical suits, military surplus items, and much more. Do you own a firearm? MaineMilitary.com has a large selection of pistols and rifles suited for your needs. Are your local stores sold out of ammunition? Call or visit them today for prices on hard-to-find ammo and bulk ammo orders. You don't need to worry about having a military surplus store in your area because MaineMilitary.com is the only store you'll ever need, all from the comfort of your computer. Visit them online today at MaineMilitary.com. That's Maine, like the state, military.com.
Liberty's Guardian, Guns and Ammunition, a family-owned business located in the heart of Ohio's hunting country. Let us help you find the right shotgun or rifle for you. Or if you're looking for a pistol or concealed carry, we have a nice selection of compact and subcompact pistols for that too. Check out our website at www.libertiesguardian.com. That website again is www.libertiesguardian.com. Go to the website and check out our selection today.
clothes were torn and dirty as he stood there by my bed. He took off his three-cornered hat, and speaking low to me, he said, "We fought a revolution to secure our liberty. We wrote the Constitution as a shield from tyranny. For future generations, this legacy we gave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. The freedoms we secured for you, we'd hoped you to always keep. But tyrants labored endlessly while your parents were asleep. Your freedom's gone, your courage lost. You're no more than a slave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. You buy permits to travel and permits to own a gun, permits to start a business or to build a place for one. On land that you believe you own, you pay a yearly rent, although you have no voice in saying how the money's spent. Your children must attend a school that doesn't educate, and your Christian values can't be taught according to the state. You read about the current news in a regulated press, and you pay a tax you do not owe to please the IRS. Your money is no longer made of silver nor of gold. You trade your wealth for paper so your life can be controlled. You pay for crimes that make our nation turn from God and shame. You've taken Satan's number. You've traded in your name. You've given government control to those who do you harm so they could burn down churches and seize the family farm and keep our country deep in debt. Put men of God in jail, harass your fellow countrymen while corrupted courts prevail. Your public servants don't uphold the solemn oaths they've sworn. And your daughters visit doctors so their children won't be born. Your leaders send artillery and guns to foreign shores and send your sons to slaughter fighting other people's wars. Can you regain the freedoms for which we fought and died? Or don't you have the courage or the faith to stand with pride? And are there no more values for which you'll fight to save? Or do you wish your children to live in fear and be a slave? O sons of the Republic, arise, take a stand, defend the Constitution, the supreme law of the land. Preserve our great republic and each God-given right. Pray to God to keep the torch of freedom burning bright. As I awoke, he'd vanished in the mist from whence he came. His words were true. We are not free, but we have ourselves to blame. For even now, as tyrants trample each God-given right, we only watch and tremble, too afraid to stand and fight. If he stood by your bedside in a dream while you were asleep and wondered what remains of the freedoms he'd fought to keep, what would be your answer if he called out from the grave? Is this still the land of the free and home of the brave? God bless you, and God bless this republic.
And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the second hour of the afternoon intelligence report. I'm Mark Cornke. One day closer to victory for all of our brothers and sisters, both on and behind the lines, in occupied territories, west, southwest, east, and north. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to us on Libertytreeradio.4mg.com, Liberty Tree Radio on YouTube via live stream, and we are on AM and FM micro stations, CB base stations, and UltraNet, Hallmark, and Golden Spike Technologies east and west of the Mississippi, along with Alaska. Good afternoon and evening to all of our friends out there across the whole of the clock. Somewhere it's midnight, somewhere it's midday. Here it is 6:11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it is Monday. It is the 19th of October. It is the 12th year of open Fabian Socialist and Soviet Socialist occupation of America with a K, 2020 Old Earth Calendar, 2020 Year of Conflict, Year of Betrayal, Battle for the Republic, Dance of Swords. The dance begins. And we're ticking down the days to the shipwreck. Needless to say, they've tried everything they could to avoid talking about the money issues with the Fed. And in fact, they are aghast if you even get a mention out in any of the social media and start talking about the budget money. Who's stealing what? And of course, the big argument right now is Pelosi is blocking the re-support package / the payoff package going to the Israelis. Ain't no chump changes coming to you. $6 trillion left the country this last time with the beginning of the coronavirus scam. Now it's going to be even worse. So everybody be prepared for that. Get ready to deal with the problems that are developing. Anyway, that's a given. That is like second nature. Should be something you're already thinking about. As it is, real quick here, two things that should be on your priority list if you really want to help with the war effort, and also with your own safety and security. Two things. Number one, get a sewing machine. Right now you can go to Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist, and you can find some phenomenal grandma machines. Some of them, well, it might be your grandma, but not. But bottom line is the machines from the 70s and 80s even, the 70s especially, the blue jean machines, which were older, all metal gears, but they're not that old. They're actually very modern machines. We're not talking the treadles, although I recommend those too. If you go to any of the resale shops, right now, sewing machines are the cheapest you will ever find them. $25 will get you a machine with a cabinet and with a whole bunch of typical fixtures and fittings with it. There are machines all over the place. Not as many to go around if everybody gets serious, so whoever gets there first is smart and gets what they need. But I recommend that you get a sewing machine. Now, once we run out of that direction, you need to seriously look at getting a basic machine. Nothing sophisticated, basic. But if you run into industrials, if you have other technologies out there that you might find locally, or again through Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist or whatever media mechanism you have where they might actually be offering technology used, guys, go through, get something, and then pick a standard model if you can. Overview, do a survey, but don't wait too long, and grab 1, 2, or 3 of the same models so that they're all the same machine. Needles, thread, bobbins, spare parts, anything you can find. Just because it's broken doesn't mean it's a wreck. Oh, it doesn't work. I don't know why it doesn't work. I don't know what's wrong with it. Grab it. If it's the same model that you're using, you already have, well, it's your spare parts inventory. Congratulations. You never know what might snap, break, or crack, or maybe damage you didn't even know about. When eventually you start using it, something wears out, you've got something else to replace it with. You see how that works? But sewing machines, the sewing machine as an industrial machine, and I'm not just talking for the sake of sewing, guys. Most people don't realize that when the trundle machines came out, the Trundle sewing machine was the basis for many other countries' whole industrial process. We brought them into the 1900s, or I should say the late 1800s. The sewing machine, Singer's sewing machine. When American or European or any other industry blocked exportation of technology, in other words, we'll sell it to you, but we won't make you can't make them in your country. Here's what happened to a lot of the countries out there. Oh, well, we can buy the sewing machine itself, yes, and they would buy the sewing machine, guys. The gears, the gear mechanism, the fine and highly refined machinery, the onboard power supply, a foot pedal system, a foot trundle system, meant that you had lots of manpower out there in most of these third world countries, as you call them today, and or second world. And guess what? Once they had a little bit of time to look at what you built in the way of the sewing machine, and they figured out how to take that power or energy and then make other fixtures that they attach to that gear drive system, the head of the sewing machine. Guys, they made stamping machines out of those, little micro stamping machines or light duty stamping machines, broaching machines. They made entire industries utilizing the sewing machine, the pedal trundle sewing machine. You've even seen pictures and didn't know what you were looking at, probably. Well, those are sewing machines. Yep, they look like sewing machines, but if you look real close, you'll notice they're not sewing anything. The machines are actually doing a number of different steps in production. Let me give you an example of something. Before World War II, Japan was, just like China right now, was blamed for making bootleg everything. Hell, they even made our liquor. How dare they? How dare they? Got to remember that people were saying, how dare the Asians make copies of our bootleg, or they were making bootleg booze. Well, you might recall only a few years earlier, we were killing people in America for making alcohol. That's what was really comical. Our government told you, you need to be outraged because the Jewish mob that controls the liquor now, that the Japanese are making bootleg copies of. Oh. So we had to go kill the Japanese because they were making bootleg liquor. Well, it wasn't just that. They made copies of everything. And they're not the only ones. Asia, which is where, again, the last cycle, Africa did this and did South America, using the sewing machine technology we were talking about from 40, 50 years earlier, built up and operated an entire mechanism of small production. What was one of the things that they pissed and moaned about before World War II? The Japanese were making lipstick that copied our American lipstick manufacturers. Well, wait a minute, that's not really high tech. In fact, the sewing machine manufacturers were the ones who had the sewing machine factory plants, were the ones who were making the tubes and the bodies and the scroll, the stamped. All of this was done with a combination of different machines. But guys, it's the idea that they did this with off-the-shelf low tech against our heavy industrial tech. They're not the only ones. It's just Japan. Just to give you an idea of some of the stuff that Japan was doing. China did this. Southeast Asia, and all these countries I'm mentioning were progressively one behind the other, way around the curve. The Southeast Asia was primitive by comparison to, say, China. China was primitive by comparison to Japan, et cetera, et cetera. Each one, and China, not all of China was behind Japan. A lot of it was parallel, but the farther you went inland and the farther you went south, the less sophisticated the technologies and the older the technologies being used. So, again, don't poo-poo the sewing machine. The sewing machine is one of the most amazing and intricate machines and has been intentionally, they've tried to destroy the ability. Our ladies and, the women of this country used to know how to sew. That was one of the things. Well, does she know how to sew? Well, now, of course, it's evil and terrible because of the feminist crap. And again, I wouldn't care if you're male or female. If you know how to sew, you're more valuable to me. If I asked a female, do you have a machine? It's not because you're female. It's like, I don't care who the hell you are. Do you have a sewing machine? It's kind of a handy tool. I've had twits when I've been standing there and I see a $15 machine or a $25 machine and it works, okay? And it's like you're turning and you look at these new, younger, idiot stick females, and it's like, do you have a sewing machine? And there's a guy standing here, too. And I look at him and say, do you have a sewing machine? But the females all incensed, the twit, the idiot, the incompetent. Why do you think I should have a sewing machine? Oh, don't worry, stupid. I don't think you can if you did that way, they'd be pissed. Don't worry, stupid. I don't think you could run it anyway. Woo! You see, well, actually, I do know that she could run it. It's a skill. All of you out there listening, I don't care if you're male or female, it's a skill. It's a useful, productive process. When we start finding out we can't get any more clothing, you're going to kind of be, sucking vapors and, I can stitch. Yes, I know you can, but, sewing machines are so sophisticated and modern that you can do it in less time. It's really kind of nice when you can, it's done. Let me give you an example of something. How many of you were in the military? Okay, now, I'm Vietnam era, okay? When you got all your new issue from Quarter Bastard, okay, right next door to Quarter Bastard or somewhere on another part of the post, like over at Fort Benning or Fort Knox or Fort Lawson Woods, Missouri, usually it was over in the old post area, there was a seamstress shop. Anybody remember this? And you know what? Do you remember what it was like when you took depending on what year, in my time, we had 7 issues of uniforms. Had a field jacket, you had your cold weather Arctic M1951 coat, you had 2 or 3 other items. Your name tapes needed to be on everything. You had to have USA, U.S. Army, on the thing too, plus your unit patches, plus any of your awards, all your regalia that was cloth, not metal. And you took them over, and there were who was running the sewing machines in the late 70s? Who was running the sewing machines? The Vietnamese girls and the Korean girls that came back that were war brides for all these guys that came back to in service and stayed in service. Do you remember how they ran the machines? You couldn't watch them move. You couldn't catch their fingers flying. They would have everything done. You paid $1.25. And they would have everything stitched. It would take me longer to describe it, which is what I'm saying, than it was for them to do the job, because they were skilled. They were, it was like, whoa. And you know what really gets me? I have a little joke thing with a cat, black cat. Some of you they're listening from Facebook or from the social media. And it's a cat, it's this cat, and he looks like his eyes are back, it's like pulled back, the back of his head is being pulled back, and his ears are flat. And it's like coffee. You haven't had enough until you can thread a sewing machine while it's moving. Let me point something out. I joke about that, but I'm not in this case. Guys, they could rethread a sewing machine on the move while they were sewing. I watched them do it. And I watched one person do it. It'd be one thing, but there were 6, 7 women all running a company's worth of clothing. Okay, we'd all go over after we got new issue. You go over there, and these women would be done. It takes me longer to do the than it actually did for them to do it. But they've got these 500-yard spools of thread. These were industrial machines. And they're not really fancy machines, but they will go through anything, including your hands, okay? And what was fascinating to watch is that they were actually, they have a run out on the thread, and literally they lick it, and they'd actually run there's the technique, obviously it's practice. They would run their hand, their index finger along the strike arm, that's holding the needle, as it was going up and down, and their fingers would come right along the edge of that, and they would line up the thread so it would get picked up by the machine as the other one was running out. They were that good. I watched that and it was like, wow, that's worth $1.25 to watch. That's better than going to the carnival. But the thing is that it was skill, okay? So I don't care who the hell you are, male or female. If you can run a machine, guys, you've got a business, you've got a trade. Think about this too. Down the road, the idiot sticks that don't think about this, they are going to be sucking vapors. Guess what? You create a business. You have something skilled labor you can do. You also were thinking ahead. You have the materials to do the job. So you become part of an integrated economy, another economy that we create. You all see that? Sewing machines. The more you got, better off you are. In fact, it's the same with, I collect cobbler's tools. I've got a complete cobbler shop. Hammers, tack drivers, tacks, anvils, stirrups, all the different guides and the different size shoes, which back in the day were smaller than they are now. I really need a few of the big ones, which are hard to find. Have to probably end up welding up and making them down the road.
Mark?
Go ahead, we got a caller. Who do we have?
Plenty. Whatever happened to those cobbler kits that you told us?
They're all, well, here's the thing. The ones they had, they carved up the difference and are selling just the pieces. But they sold out of those. Those, when they came out, I tried to explain to everybody, that had a field cobbler's anvil and also the guides for the different size shoes. And it was kind of interesting because what they did, instead of just having one post with it looks like the bottom of the sole of a shoe, guys, made in steel, and you set it down into this tapered post so that you can't go anywhere. Instead, they had 4 of those on one because it was supposed to be a field operator's, repair kit. And they were in their own duffel bag, the whole 9 yards, and they sold out of those. But what they had left when they found out there were some in another bin, I talked to them, they broke everything down and were selling the hammers separate and selling everything separate, which went to hundreds of dollars. Instead of it being $60, it was like $67 for the whole kit. And I tried to tell everybody when they were $67, that was like a total steal. Because that came with leather, that came with soles, that came with patch, materials. It came with adhesives, all the hand tools, the cutters, sculptors, snips, hammers, multiple hammers, the whole 9 yards. and tax, everything you
That
needed.
would have been a tremendous bargain.
Yeah, if anybody still sees anything like that, those were Italian, and that was more than a few years ago. But it's one of those things. It's surplus. When they come out, they come out. When they're gone, you usually don't see them again. So it's like what's happening with the Axion sites or the, like the medical supplies. When we see surplus medical supplies, it's surplus. Well, when it's gone, it's gone. But you never know. Another wave might come in. Right now, there's a bunch of Italian stuff coming in, so someone might have those. They could still have dug up some more. But again, remember that those were built for a different era, whereas most all the armies have gone to the pre-mold, pre-cast soles that are, they're molded right over the base materials. They're stitched to a degree, but if you take a look at the soles on most of your shoes and boots. There's a different system, even though you'll have to fix them using the old processes, which is why, like I said, putting up a cobbler set, and at the very least a basic cobbler set, would be a really good idea to include treated thread for going through leather and rubber for redoing soles. And I would point out that in the prison system, behind the wire guys, there are guys that are cobblers, and everything is improvised. No pair of shoes ever get thrown away because somebody is so poor they want another pair. And to have a pair of tennis shoes that are more comfortable than the state, shoes that are provided, you're allowed to buy them. But if you're so poor, the cheapest pair of tennis shoes behind the wire is as little as $10, $12 for a no-name brand pair of China Sport tennis shoes like you buy at Walmart. Problem, you make only $10 a month, and you still have to pay for all the other things you need to take care of yourself, so you have to save up. Well, when you finally buy a pair of shoes, then you treat them really well. You don't see it like people outside where they goof around and screw stuff up and just throw it. If you throw a pair of shoes away in a prison system, there are 3 to 4 people watching the junk, watching the trash barrel where you're going to put it. If they see you carrying them towards it, everybody's hawking and watching, and whoever gets to that trash first gets that pair of shoes. Well, then, if they're not pretty, you take them over to a cobbler, a guy who will pay, you pay him a couple packs of cigarettes, you pay him in food, and he stitches everything back together, cleans everything up, may even take another pair of soles from another pair of shoes, and will bind them to the other pair so that you don't lose the other sole. He scrubs them down and glues everything together, stitches everything together the old way, and even polishes and cleans them for you. And your shoes may not be brand new, but at least you got a pair. See, people don't even understand. And that was when things were good. I think I can imagine what it's like in the prison system now. So, example, outside, no different. All of you, these are all jobs. You're looking for ways, what will we do? What will fuel the economy? Lack of resources is going to fuel the economy. Lack of money is going to fuel the new economy. There are going to be 2 economies, the digit one that the government's pushing, which nobody will be able to play in, and the one that you're going to have to create to replace the one that the government was, thought they were going to force you to play in. So there's another area, shoe repair, but you got to be thinking ahead. And you need the tools, the mechanical tools. Remember, you got to have augers, awls. You got to have hammers. You need pliers. All these tools you can buy now, or you can go, like I said, Facebook Marketplace. You can buy everything you need off the shelf or get it for free. Over the weekend, every weekend, I'm not exaggerating, I have ended up with anywhere from $100 or $200 worth of tools for free up to thousands and thousands of dollars worth of tools for free, or almost free, okay? So heads up, people. Doesn't mean you can find the same thing I've been finding. It just means getting motivated. Now, the more people get motivated, well, then it's whoever gets there first, kind of like those shoes with that guy at the trash can, okay? But that's another area. Now, again, shoe repair and millinery, working clothing repair. How to make things work. In fact, here's another thing to remember. You don't just want to fix it. How can you make it so it's tougher and stronger? Here's something to think about, that in the future, if you're ahead of the curve, you will have a lot of customers. Leather patching for wherever you have wear points on clothing. Remember the old hunters or smokers jackets? used to have the elbow patches. You want to know why that typically was the case? Because those were worn through. They were clothing that typically was worn through. Now, if you were smart and you saw how you use something, when you get a new one, you would patch it in advance so that the base cloth didn't wear through, but instead the patches where you needed them to be would take the hit, and you can always replace the over patches, and that way you don't wear out the base clothing. Prior proper planning prevents piss poor performance and also doesn't take as much of a bite out of your budget, especially if you have no budget because you're all dirt poor. That does make a bit of a difference, okay? So just things to think about right now and heads up on. Zippers, don't throw away zippers. Don't throw away buttons. Start making up sewing kits. You got somebody that's if you got a shirt that is finally blown out, you should be using it for rags. When you do that, you knock off all the buttons and put them into the button kits. If you got military gear especially, all of your military buttons, all your military connectors, all of them should go into a small sewing repair kit right now. I do. I've got a little box that's got, it's also got thread, but, anything else I can run into. But if I run into something that's a little piece, I just put it in there. I don't micro sort it right now. Somebody else is going to have that job after you got everything collected, and everybody's going to want a job. And some people already know how to do what I'm talking about doing, but they don't have the tools. Maybe they didn't think ahead, but they didn't know how to do it. But I'll always be able to get oh my God, there's nothing available. Well, guess what? That's a person that you first recruit, confirm that they're of like mind, because you don't just get stupid. And then you set them up so that that's their job. Congratulations, you have a mission in life. This is how you build intelligently. Okay? Couple other things real quick, and this is the other item that I really would like you all to invest in. Drill press. Now, you can get the little tabletop drill presses, that's fine. But especially if you go to Facebook Marketplace, resale shops, Craigslist, but Facebook Marketplace, hundreds of them, thousands of them, there's all kinds. People are shunning anything that looks like work because the panty wastes are taking over this country, okay, as far as in the public end. The panty wastes are in charge right now. And it's in vogue to be a panty waste. In other words, it's in vogue to not have a clue about how to do anything because somebody else is going to do it. Well, those idiot sticks will be found as, they're the zombies that'll be demanding everything be done, and we're not doing, jack squat for them. You know that, right? We're not doing any of that. However, again, because of the mindset, guys, estate sales, property disposal, you guys, go to these yard sales. Some people are just getting rid of the extra per se. Actually, what they're not saying is they're hurting for money because of the corona beer virus scam. And they're selling a lot of stuff that, in the long run, you actually would need, but I'm not arguing with anybody anymore. I don't even bother doing you sure you need it? You don't need it? I'm not even doing that anymore. Want to know why? I got other people that need it. It's that simple. And if the person can't see the writing on the wall right now, I'm not going to get into a debating session. And here's the other part of the game. I've told you this before. This is like trying to tell a veteran not to sell his stuff. Okay? For years, going back to Vietnam, all the way through every other decade I've lived through here now. I've always had access to stuff. I like finding stuff. I've always had a good connection for quarter bastard, in one form or another. You always used to, because there's stuff I wanted, and because I was outfitting or equipping, armies or my people or whatever, I was always looking for things. When I was in the military, we, again, scavenging, guys. Get good at scavenging, and your people not only look better, but they work better. So you find all the junk the government doesn't want to give you by finding out where they're getting rid of it, and you end up with better than the stuff the Army tries to issue you. They hate it when you do that. Okay, they hate it. Seriously, I am dead cold serious. Okay? So here's the thing. Every time, there's always, don't worry, guys, it's nothing new, but Vietnam, all these guys came back, I burned my clothes, I burned everything, I gave it all away to the nephews. And it's like, well, wait a minute, you didn't keep anything? I gave it all away, I'm done with it, Well, then you go from where everybody was doing the politically correct thing to, remembering what you did, and then eventually the nostalgia thing kicks in. And you know how many times I had to find Ranger hats, real boonie hats, and this is not recent, I'm talking way back then, okay? Mark, I'm looking for a boonie hat, but I don't want one of these commercial things. I want one like I had. So I'd have to go out and find it. I'd do it. I said, well, what did you do with yours? Well, I burned it with all my stuff. So if everybody thinks this is new, because they did this again with the guys in the 80s, and you saw a bunch of them doing it in the 90s, and it always is the same thing. Well, I'm looking for a patrol hat like I had when I was in service. I want a real one, though. Oh, okay. The Korean War vets, although the Korean War vets didn't throw most of their stuff away, they just wore out. I had a source for the actual, the ones you don't see, they're not the right ones. The ones you do see, they're not the right ones. I had a source for one of the companies that had Korean-era headgear that was original because they were an old surplus company. And they always wondered, how did I get these sateen hats? Where the hell did you get them from? Nobody has them. I said, well, one person has them. So the Korean guys were happy because their hats were very unique, not what you see in the movies. 90% of what you see in the movies is typically wrong. Okay, just a heads up on that one. But anyway,
hey,
go ahead, caller, jump in there.
Hey, it's Carl in Virginia. I was laughing when you said that people are shunting things that look like work, and this new generation. I can't tell you how many females I've spoken with over the years who they take pride in not knowing how to sew, not knowing how to cook, not even knowing how to clean. They take pride in that now. That is the liberated and the empowered woman. I mean, it's weird now that being empowered means you don't know how to do things.
Right, that you've stupefied your brain.
But it's like you always say, we got the thinkers, they got the stinkers. That's what they got.
Yep, leave them in the dust, and remember, pay attention. You want that girl that knows how to do all of the above and is able to still do all the other things that the feminist, I only do this. Well, then you're obviously quite limited. You're limited, yeah. Okay?
Well, and, hey, that's why their little Chaz or Chop or whatever, that fell apart so fast. Because they don't know how to do anything, and nobody's willing to do anything.
Right. And if they did, they were waiting for the other one to do it. What little they knew how to do, it's like, it's the old story, remember the henny penny? Don't you remember the old henny penny thing? Who will help me plant the wheat? Not I, not I, not I. Yeah, who will help me grow the wheat? Not I, not I, not I. Who will help me harvest the wheat? Not I, not I, not I. Who will help me grind the wheat? Not I, not I. Who will help me make the bread? Not I, not I, not I. Who will help me eat the bread? Oh, everybody wants to eat the bread. Yes. It's like, that's why I said they're going to be sucking vapors, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, this is where, and again, there's a key word here. We are dealing with an enemy. You have to treat them as I know how hard that is. You have to treat them as an enemy. They think, it's bizarre. They will stand there and tell you all about how they're going to murder you. I mean, that they're flat out frothing at the mouth, crazy town, going to murder you. And it's like, oh, okay, we'll murder you back. You can't do that. Well, what do you mean I can't do that? I'll bet you I can. I can do it better than you can. I've actually had more time to think about it and actually apply the technology. What's your point? Because you notice they're even doing this right now. They're the ones who are yapping about a civil war or whatever. And then, have you seen, Carl, have you seen any of the rhetoric the last couple of days that they've been writing in the leftist media about, getting together on these sites where they're fantasizing about a civil war? And it's like, well, yeah, what's your point? Well, you said you wanted one. You said you thought you wanted one, I guess. What's wrong?
Yeah, I know how to fight a war.
Remember what he said in Quigley Down Under? It was the one scene, although again, there was to gratify the anti-gunners in Australia. He had remember how he had the rifle, and at the very end, he hands him the pistol. And, of course, he guns down all three of them, and he goes, just because I said I didn't like them, or just because I said I didn't like them, I never said I didn't know how to use them, right? And it's like, well, I don't want to open this box, but I've decided that the box is going to be opened with or without me, so you know what? If it's going to be with me, I plan on winning. You want to open Pandora's box, I got to win. That's how all of you need to be thinking right now. The enemy wants to open Pandora's box. I'm looking right at who it is that needs to be shot. I'm not fiddle-farting with the organic sandbags. I know exactly who needs to have a bullet put in their hind end. And everybody else does too. So everybody has the right attitude going into this. No, we will not be home by Christmas, but we will fight and win this war.
Well, Mark, let me come at you with this. So I've got a lot of people asking me, what can I do? Because, I'm an old guy with a bad back, bad knees, and I'm fat and whatever, and I haven't been training with you guys. And what I'm telling them is, and you could feel free to let me know if I'm wrong, but what I've been saying is you need to get to know your neighbors and secure your neighborhoods. Because even though you can't go out, or you don't feel like you can go out on operations, whatever, you need to secure your neighborhood so that the people who can go out on operations feel like their family is secure and they can they feel safe leaving home to go take care of business.
The big neighborhood watch better be in place, number one. But number two, your back's not good? No, back's really bad. Knees are bothering you? Knees are bothering you. You sound like infantry. Flat feet? Yeah, flat. Oh, I got. You know what? It's funnier than hell because you see, you go down that shopping list. Oh, your back's bad. Oh, yeah, your back's bad. Oh, your knees are bothering you. Oh, yeah, my knees will bother me. They're thinking that this is going to be the excuse. Flat feet? Oh, yeah, flat feet. Oh, you sound like experienced infantry to me. Congratulations. I tell you what, but I won't do that to you. You can be a truck driver. You know what? I'll put you in an APC. You won't have to worry about running. And since you can't run, it's kind of like what Second Chance said years ago about their rifle armor. What I just said earlier, when they originally had the ad, and I got to kick myself in the arse, so I got to pull it out of my filing cabinet. They had an ad where it said, "New, Second Chance, 4th grade armor, 4th level 4 armor, capable of stopping 308, 762 by 51 NATO, 556, blah, 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 blah." And of course, it's only frontal armor. And it's like, and everybody immediately, when you read that, it's like, what? And of course, then they actually said this in the ad. And since it's only front protective armor, you are motivated to point yourself towards the enemy. And since you're trying to motivate your troops or your officers to fight, then since they're pointed towards the enemy, they might as well draw their gun and return fire. You see how that works? It really was part of their advertising. Well, it works the same in this case, like, congratulations, you're like 65. Well, I'm 64. You're feeling like your knees aren't too good right now? Well, we'll put you in armor. Oh, yeah, don't worry, the tank moves over, the APC or the armored car works all on its own. And here's what's really cool. Since you can't run real fast, you're going to apply your science really, really well. You're going to try real hard to fight well with that piece of equipment, aren't you? Because you can't jump out of it real quick and leave. That's kind of a good combination. Kind of like that frontal armor and the rifle armor when they came out with it. Can't turn away and run, can you? No, because there's nothing behind me. Yeah, so you might as well point yourself towards the enemy. Well, yeah. Well, then you might as well pull your gun. Yeah, and use it. Well, yeah. Works the same way. First of all, remind everybody, Carl, all of you out there listening, go watch The Checkist. Tell them, listen, you want to understand how they think about you? Understand, when you go watch The Checkist, a lot of people thought they were going to sit off to the side. The communists had plans for all those idiot sticks stupid enough to think they were going to sit off to the side. They were dead. Does everybody understand that? Your enemy right now is dead cold serious about mass murder. Let's understand that before we go any farther. The FBI would help to operate death camps so fast to make your head swim. The ATF would help to operate death camps so quick it'll make your head swim. The federal marshals would help to operate death camps so quick it'll make your head swim. And they'll work for the British, they'll work for the UN, they already are. And they consider you, the American people, in the way of their little satanic/Kabbalistic agenda. Well, we are. And there's more of us than there are of them. When you see them, you put them down. You put every last one of them down. You don't let any of them get away. You let nothing but a rumor of their destruction return to where they came from. And you don't fight fair, and you fight on your terms. And when you're hunting them, any shot and every shot is a good shot. If you can club them like a baby seal and do it quietly, better still. That's how you all better be thinking. You can feel it in the wind. Guys, come on, tell me you can't feel this now. They will tell you what they're going to do. Think about the eclectic twilight zone of what you've seen in the last 2 months. We're coming for your guns. We're going to get your guns. We're going to come and right to your home. Now, mind you, that's exactly what they're bragging. We're going to come and get them. And then they tell you, oh, those crazy people say we're after them. They don't know what they're talking about. I mean, guys, do they really feel that you only have about a 2-day memory span now? Now, granted, for the Prozac prodigies and all the lames that are desperately trying not to face reality, it's not that they have a 2-day memory span and then blank. It's that they're desperately trying to blank their mind out to face reality. You do understand that. Pay attention to these people. This is where, when the time comes, some of them will actually fight. Some of them are going to stand there like deer in the headlights and will let anything happen to themselves. But you've got to, wherever you can, at a certain point, you got to slap them side the head, get them motivated, and if all they do is follow orders anyway, you bark orders at them. If that's what it takes, in other words, remember that term we've used many times, lead, follow, or get the hell out of the way, remember? Well, here's how it works. You bark the orders at them. Since they're apparently like followers, we're going to get them moving in the right direction. Now, don't count on them. Maybe eventually the gray matter, the brain juice will finally start flowing. But remember that you have to rate what it is you have in the way of resources. If you're going to be a team leader, if you're going to be a fire team leader, a squad leader, if you're going to be a platoon leader, you better start grading. You've got to constantly grade and understand the nature of what you have in the way of manpower and resources. And get everybody motivated. You don't get negative about anything. The one positive thing I know for sure, ain't none of us making it out of this alive as far as life goes. You know what? You fight for your life, you might live longer. You let them put you in a ditch, it's your problem, not mine, but you should have fought, and everybody did. If you kill one of them on the other side, that person, that mass murderer can't murder anyone else. And if everybody takes that attitude, it's like Doc said, you really get over the idea they're going to try and kill you. They already planned on that. Now, since you all understand that, you better get motivated to kill them first. Once you get over the idea that, well, they could kill me, well, that's already in their plans, people, or they wouldn't be coming with guns and playing police state the way that they are. They already have that in their mind. They've even told you publicly now what their agenda is. Publicly, not kind of, sort of. And every once in a while, it's bleeding out where they're frothing at the mouth, insane. We got Fruit Loop here. Greta Bruce Jenner said she wants Trump dead. Greta Bruce Jenner, she's a governor. Yeah, well, no, she's a crazy town bewitch is what she is, and we all know that. Okay, Greta Bruce Jenner, how dare you, how dare you? But these characters are blurting. Now, Now, you've been listening to this program. Do you think I trust Trump? Now, if that just deflated somebody's balloon out there, I'm going to tell you flat out, I'm going to tell you again, guys, nobody in Washington, D.C. is working for America, or this crap wouldn't have gone where it did. They're trying to play the rubes. You're supposed to pick between Lenin, Trotsky, Stalin, and Mao Zedong. But mostly it's Trotsky, Lenin, and Stalin. But you'll notice all of them try to avoid mentioning that communist China is the one that's got the bucks that originally caused all the problem, because NAFTA and GATT didn't mean that we went to Europe. NAFTA and GATT meant that our industry went to communist China. Communist China, communist China. Our industry didn't go to Europe. It went to communist China. Oh, by the way, but a bunch of our industry, when NAFTA and GATT took place, was taken over by the kosher-run Belgians, the Jewish mob Belgians, like Bethlehem Steel, that they systematically were destroying, and all of our industry that they systematically destroyed step by step through NAFTA and GATT, which was promoted and proposed by George Herbert Walker Bush. That's why they mumble when they go, oh, Bill Clinton passed with the Democrats. No, the Democrats were the fakes who said they weren't for it. The Republicans were in your face and told you they were for it, and everybody was played. And when the Democrat flip on the same coin was in there, the Democrats turned right around and signed it and backed it and told everybody, shut up, sit down. We're going to screw the country the way George Herbert Walker Bush planned. We are at war. So again, congratulations. We are at that point where liberty, 1775, not the spirit of 76, the spirit of 75. We didn't ask permission. We don't have to ask permission. We're going to end up we're fighting for our lives, just as they did on April 19th, 1775. The spirit of 75 is what you need right now, the spirit of 75. And yeah, it's nice we got around by 1776 to, we had another declaration. We already made our declaration with a trigger pull on April 19th, 1775, on a large scale, a trigger pull. Show me where there was a ballot box or where somebody voted on shooting their ass on April 19th, 1775. Why do you think they don't want anybody to think about that date? Why do you think they progressively engineered stupidity about that date? 19th April, 1775. Shot heard round the world. Now, we've got an enemy right now. One way or another, the thing is, it's going to be just like what happened with Katrina. Oh, George Bush is in charge. Oh, wow, it's another one of those Bushes. Oh, yeah, we protected ourselves from the brigands and the murderers, and we kept our house, and nobody bothered us, and we're all safe here. Oh, look, the National Guard and the foreign troops are here, and what are they doing? They're pointing guns at us. No, guys, we protected our house. You guys all abandoned us. I couldn't find you people anywhere. Government was gone, and we had to defend ourselves, and why are you putting a gun in my head? What do you mean you're taking my gun? That's what I used to keep myself alive. What do you mean I'm an enemy of the state? Yes, of course, comrade worker, because you kept your property, and they didn't get a chance to play the ransack routine so they could push a bigger police state, but they pushed the bigger police state anyway. And the Republicans used the queer New Orleans mayor as the mouthpiece, so there was those bastards like the Democrats. Really? The Republicans were in charge of FEMA, and the Republicans were in charge of the military, and they ordered the military to take the guns from all of you gun owners. Wasn't the Democrats that did that? Piss on them. Once FEMA was in there, they might have had that yapping mouthpiece, dirty whore queer up there, that baboonist that was up there. But all that was a stupid idiot stick mouthpiece. Who was in charge of the Fed? George Bush. Well, I seem to recall he was a Republican, and he was a neocon, and still is. And what did the neocons do? Use the excuse to confiscate guns from the American people because of crisis. Now, I'm going to tell you before you get caught flat-footed what's coming with Trump when the Democrats and Republican fakes stir the pot and get everything going. Oh, look, the military and those guys are here. Why are they pointing a gun at me? I just protected my house from Antifa. Oh, my God, they're not only coming in my house, they're taking my goodies. Oh, wait a minute, they're fondling the kids. Oh, they're pedos on top of everything else in uniform. Wow. But wait, Antifa's down the street. Yeah, they don't care. They work with them. But boy, they'll do a good job of going door to door to look for those guns, because that's what they did after Katrina. And you're not supposed to figure this out, by the way. So we better put the kibosh to it before it gets going by explaining to them we are looking right at them. Does everybody understand that? This role will always be the same. You, the producer, you, the taxpayer, you, the property owner, are the perceived enemy of the Republicans and the Democrats, the globalists, the ring knockers, the neocons, the communists. They're all the same. You, the person who actually has what little you have, are the first biggest enemy in their mind, because you are a producer and you do think. They don't have a problem with the mindless twit Fruit Loop nutcase that they produced in the public fool system, Antifa, ATF, FBI, they're all the same. P-brain, shoe size IQ, they all are I-wants. They got their hand out in your wallet, and they demand for free, no matter which one of them it is. They're all part of the same scam. So anyway, now, again, drill presses. Yeah, I'm going back to that. Drill presses. If you get a drill press, just like sewing machines, you don't just get a sewing machine. You need needles, bobbins, thread, spare parts, sewing oil. Now, sewing machine oil, sewing machine oil. But with a drill press, you want to get, even if it's the cheapest vise you can find, buy it. If it comes with it, take everything. If there's other accoutrements, and if you make a deal, always hornswoggle, people, make a deal, negotiate. Okay, you're going to negotiate, and in the process, you get a better deal. But you also want stock. You want drill bits. You want to make sure you've got a drill index. There's a nice little tool that's handy. But duplicates of the same drill. One drill won't do. 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch, 5/16, by multiples if you can get multiples. If a guy has at a yard sale a bucket full of drill bits, I don't care what they look like, grab them. They're all useful. Oil them, go through and oil everything. I'm behind in that. I already did a bunch of them. Every night I do a handful of tools. The ones I have on the back porch right now, I got most of those with a coat of regular automotive oil. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. In fact, the automotive oil has a tendency to stick nicely, and whatever you got, you can get free from the yard sales. Usually when I go to these estate sales, there's a bunch of lubricants and stuff you get for nothing. Grab them all, take them home. What am I going to use them for? Well, Mark, I don't use 5W40. No, you don't, but you do now, because you're going to take a little oil rag, and you're going to put that on all those tools that need to have some form of protective coat on them. See how that works? If it's not something you use, it's something if not normally used for your vehicles, who cares? You're going to be using it for something a little different. Greases would be better still. So watch for semi-opened or partially opened grease containers of, or tubes. Well, I'm not going to grease anything up with that. Yeah, you are. Your tools. Saws. How about drill heads? All the parts that you're not using immediately, or even if you are, need to be lubricated. They need to have a level of protection put on them for storage. And we're heading into the moisture season. If it wasn't moist enough here in Michigan for the summer, now we're getting into the cold wet. We're getting into cold wet and then cold frozen. Cold frozen is actually pretty cool. It's not as much of a problem. But the damp, wet environment we're in right now, yes, oxidation's an issue. You want to protect those tools. Other than that, any other hand tools you can think of that you can acquire when you go to these yard sales, I got a whole box of, it actually was a sailboat somebody was working on, I'm pretty sure, a sailboat or a little yacht. Well, they pulled all the tools off that little yacht and they threw them all away, and I got probably about a fishing box full of screwdrivers, pliers, angle pliers, cutters, snippers, zip ties, all the fun stuff you need for emergency fixing, and put it all into a container I got there, actually a little toolbox that I don't know why it wasn't a toolbox, it should have been, but put it all together, and it was free. All of its name brand, top-end tools, including a 25-foot tape measure I really needed, which is kind of nice. I can always use more tape measures. Guys, if you look around, the stuff's out there. But the big thing is a drill press. Why? We can expand a vast amount of manufacturing this way. Each drill press can do one thing, and it repeats it over and over again. Give me 5 drill presses, and I've got a production line. Even one, it can be a production system. But you give me 5, 6, 7, 10 little drill presses like that. You do one drill, or you do one cut, or you do one grind, or you do a bevel, and you put it in you take it from one bin, put it to your right in the other bin. The guy to your right has the other drill press. He picks that part up, puts it in his machine, he does the next cut. Each machine has a jig, or each machine has a station set. And between 4, 5, 10, 20 drill presses, you can crank out a weapons receiver. You can do sub-weapon system components, ordnance, munitions, anything you can imagine. But you got to have the machinery. Guys, you want to help with the long-term effort now? This is where we need all of you to focus. That guy who has the bad knees and the bad back, by God, you can still help with work in a shop. And not only that, but you can drive, you can help with medical, you can run a radio. There's 100 things that any of you can do out there, and all of you better be ready to help with. And you can also help by promoting constantly the militia. Pro-patriot, pro-militia. Positive. And you don't give any ground, and you don't, but you don't ever do that. Shut up. Stop that garbage. Acquiescing to your enemy. Key word. Why are you acquiescing to your enemy? Don't do that. In fact, they're spitting on you left, right. We got a frothing mouth, crazy town loon in Lansing right now. I mean, it's showing its Twilight Zone colors. Not that it already didn't, but a bunch of other stupid people went along with it. Now it's really looking bad, and it's going to do nothing but get worse. Anyway, we're at the top. We're going to get out of the way here for the moment. Ed's going to be taking over. Guys, support Liberty Tree Radio. Carl, keep an eye on your mailbox. There is something on the way for you. Carl, pay attention to your mailbox. You wanted it. It's headed that way. Anyway, God bless our republic. Death to the New World Order. We shall prevail, ladies and gentlemen. The Empire's on the run. We're on the march. You're going to get out of the way for now. We'll be back at 8 o'clock. Ed taking over. More live LTR coming up here. It is Monday. God bless. Bye-bye.
Hoorah!
Plant the seed in our homeland, boys. Let it grow where all can see. Feed it with our devotion, boys. Call it the Liberty Tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. Save it from the storm, boys. Water down its roots with tea. And the sun will always shine on the old Liberty Tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. March along with the piper, boys. We were born forever free. Let's go pay the piper, boys, beneath the Liberty Tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. Pay the price they're asking, boys. Always pay the tyrant's fee. Never give up the struggle, boys. Fight for the Liberty Tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. Stand for the rights of man, boys. Stand against all tyranny. Hang the lance of freedom, boys. High on the Liberty Tree. It's a tall old tree.
This session is no longer being recorded. Goodbye.